Hello Internet and welcome to today's edition of 1 Minute Answers from 1 Minute Economics, and I do apologize for not publishing videos as frequently, but since I have a bit of free time right now, I'm going to make up for it and talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in detail. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I do have two questions related to crypto lined up for today, but before answering them, there are three important issues that I want to address when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. One, in a minute, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and crypto gurus and why, in my opinion, you need to stay away from them. Two, I'm going to spend another minute talking about the balance between Bitcoin on the one hand and alternatives, also known as altcoins, on the other. And finally, I will dedicate 1 minute to talking about the price of Bitcoin and the price of altcoins as well. Let's start by talking about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency gurus in general. And I want to say right off the bat that there's a lot of emotion right now in the crypto world because on the one hand, you have your beginners who think that all they have to do is buy a bit of Bitcoin and they're going to be filthy rich quickly. Then again, you have people who have held Bitcoin for a certain amount of time and perhaps are worried about this or that, or maybe they're thinking about at least a partial exit or something along those lines. The bottom line is that there's a lot of emotion involved, there's a lot of greed involved, there's a lot of fear involved, and this is the perfect climate for charlatans to thrive. People who claim they have all of the answers, people who say they know exactly what the price of Bitcoin or Ether or whatever is going to be tomorrow, next month, etc. And in my opinion, you need to stay far away from these people, and please take one step back and think about how much Bitcoin, for example, has gone up in value, not from 2009 to the present, no, just think about how the price has evolved over the past 12 months. And you will conclude that even someone who invested a fair amount of money in Bitcoin and simply held is doing very well financially at this point. Even more so, if you're as brilliant of a trader as you claim to be, you would have had all of the conditions in the world to make multiple orders of magnitude more in terms of returns. So let me ask you, why would such a person who probably is sitting on quite a bit of money right now, why would he or she go through the trouble of setting up seminars, of working with clients on consulting gigs or whatever, The simple and logical answer is that such a person would be so well off financially that even the thought of him or her spending time and energy to work with clients and things of that nature is downright ludicrous. So, yeah, whenever you come across someone who claims he has all of the answers, maybe that person even has, screenshots or whatever to back up those claims, just think about the fact that just like gamblers, traders love talking about their winners, documenting their winners, showing you their winners, but when it comes to their losers, they tend to keep quiet. So with that stated, please be very skeptical when it comes to gurus in the investment world in general, and even more so when it comes to cryptocurrency gurus. I also want to spend a minute to talk about Bitcoin and altcoins, because especially nowadays, people are ridiculously emotionally invested in their altcoins, and they start talking about how Bitcoin's going to go to zero, but their altcoin is the best thing since sliced bread, so you have to sell Bitcoin quickly and buy whatever it is they're promoting right now. And that, in my opinion, is just plain silly. And the easiest comparison I have for you is that between gold and silver. When precious metals in general are going up in value, then silver, which is the riskier but also more volatile of the two, will probably outperform gold. The same way, however, when fear or even panic sets in, silver will greatly underperform gold. And the same principle, in my opinion, is valid when it comes to cryptocurrencies and major events. When things are going great, then of course, I'm sure you're able to generate humongous returns with altcoins. However, when we eventually enter a long-term bear market or something like that, if you really think that the price of Bitcoin is going to collapse, but you as an altcoin holder are going to make out like a bandit, then I'm sorry, but you are deluding yourself. There's nothing wrong with investing in Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with investing in Bitcoin alternatives, as long as you know exactly what you're getting yourself into and as long as you understand the rules of the game you're playing. Finally, once again in a minute, I want to talk about the price of Bitcoin as well as cryptocurrency prices in general. And at this point, maybe some of you are expecting me to say, okay, my prediction is this. I think that's going to happen or whatever. But I unfortunately have just two things to say about prices. One, I have no idea what's going to happen next. I don't know. Two, I'm sorry, but neither does anyone else. You do have to understand that in the world of crypto, it's a Wild West situation, to put it mildly. You are investing in a new asset class, in an asset class that doesn't even have, a full business cycle in terms of track record, and as such, of course, the potential returns are high, but then again, the risks are equally high, and volatility as well as all sorts of other pitfalls are to be expected. If you're serious about, investing in Bitcoin, investing in a Bitcoin alternative or whatever, then fine. But please understand that you are investing in one of the riskiest asset classes out there. And there's nothing wrong with that, Just like people who invested in domain names in the 90s had all sorts of risks to keep in mind compared to someone who invests in domain names today. The same way, when you're involved in a new space such as the world of cryptocurrencies, you do have to understand that a higher degree of volatility and higher more problematic risk factors just come with the territory. As such, it is kind of awful, especially since we're human beings who are used to there being experts when it comes to pretty much anything. The thought that we are investing in something where there's nobody to tell us what's going to happen next, where there's nobody to give us much needed clarity, it is, a scary thought. But in my opinion, it's just how things stand. You need a certain kind of stomach to do well in the world of crypto. You need a certain kind of mindset, and you need, first and foremost, solid, and I mean rock solid risk management. That being stated, it's time to move on to the questions I have lined up for today, two of them. But before doing that, I want to pick the topic for next week, and the topic for next week is going to be statistics. If you want to ask me something about statistics in general, about the manner in which statistics is being taught in school, or really anything else that has to do with statistics, simply ask me a question by writing a comment below, and I will do my best to answer next week. The first question for today has been asked by Bill, who would like to know what it would take for a new cryptocurrencies to become number one, or in other words, how Bitcoin could be dethroned. Now, that's a great question, and you need to understand that compared to altcoins, Bitcoin has a major advantage. An advantage that doesn't have as much to do with trading or whatever as it has to do with traditional marketing. In that, Bitcoin is the poster boy when it comes to cryptocurrencies. It's the first cryptocurrency out there. It is by far the cryptocurrency that is receiving the most mainstream attention, whether we're talking about it frequently being featured on CNBC or about the fact that, futures trading with in the most legit, if you will, manner possible is actually going to become a thing. So all of these things basically boil down to us understanding that Bitcoin at this point is the spokesperson for cryptocurrencies. Now, of course, it's very hard for me to say that, yeah, Bitcoin is always going to be number one, and 50 years from now, we're still going to have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is still going to be the dominant cryptocurrencies. I have no idea. I don't even know if 50 years from now, we're going to have cryptocurrencies anymore, Maybe we're going to have, I don't know, some next level type of technological breakthrough, which is going to make cryptocurrencies seem primitive. You never know. Nobody knows, and what I do know, however, is that for Bitcoin to be dethroned, the upcoming cryptocurrency really needs to be something genuinely special, because it's hard for me to even express in words how much momentum Bitcoin has right now when it comes to the mainstream world. So yeah, of course, we have Ethereum, for example, which is great, but try explaining Ethereum to your grandfather, for example, or to your father even. It's ridiculously complicated. So I would not consider Ethereum the thing that will eventually dethrone Bitcoin. I'm sorry for being so vague, but it's easier for me to say what the next Bitcoin is not going to be than it is for me to say what the next Bitcoin will be. So either one, a new cryptocurrency is going to appear that is going to put Bitcoin to shame in terms of benefits, technology, or whatever, or two, of course, maybe something is going to come that's going to replace cryptocurrencies altogether. So in the end, we're going to deal with a next level situation kind of thing. That's the best I've got. And speaking of Ethereum, for today's second and final question, just a human would like me to dumb it down, or in other words, to explain Ethereum, I assume, to someone who doesn't exactly know a lot of things about cryptocurrencies. And the best I can do is say that the key word here is decentralization. And decentralization in the online world did not start with cryptocurrencies. For example, we had, prior to crypto being a thing, decentralization when it comes to file sharing. In other words, instead of you sharing files through filesharingwebsite.com where you upload your file there and then give a link to someone from that site, and the other party downloads the file in question from filesharingwebsite.com. No, instead of doing that, you had what was called peer-to-peer file sharing, in that you got files from other peers instead of getting them through a centralized entity. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general have represented the next step. In that, instead of having decentralized file sharing, we now also have decentralized currencies. Or in other words, it's possible for us to transact through peer-to-peer currencies rather than just, me funding my PayPal account and then sending money from my PayPal account to your PayPal account so that you can pay someone else by sending something from your balance to his or her PayPal account. We no longer need PayPal at this point to transact, and instead we can do it in a peer-to-peer manner. Okay, what's Ethereum? Well, just like you think of Bitcoin as peer-to-peer currencies, you can think about Ethereum as, if you will, peer-to-peer apps. In other words, Ethereum is kind of like a framework that enables you to do a bunch of stuff in a decentralized manner. A more precise way of putting it is that, Bitcoin equals peer-to-peer currency. Ethereum equals peer-to-peer currency plus peer-to-peer apps. And, the ramifications of it all is that you have a bunch of awesome stuff such as smart contracts or whatever that are now possible thanks to Ethereum. So I've said it previously, but that I don't think Ethereum is going to be the thing that replaces Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't put genuinely awesome stuff on the table. It's just that it's ridiculously hard to explain, but I think that by seeing things from the perspective of decentralization, you're going to be on the right track. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in to yet another edition of 1 Minute Answers from 1 Minute Economics. And remember, the topic for next week is statistics. So if you have a question about the manner in which statistics is being taught in school, something specific about statistics, or anything else, simply write a comment below and I will do my best to answer your question next time. Also, please remember that my book launch is getting very close, so if you haven't by now, please give me a minute, literally, of your time by visiting 1minuteeconomics.com and reading about what you can do to help with my book launch right now. As always, please like my videos, share them with others, comment, be active in the community, and if you haven't by now, subscribe to 1 Minute Economics. Thanks a lot, guys, and have an awesome week.